Thank you, Betty. Our next speaker was another of Bahu's students at South Alabama, Ken Simon.
So I do remember the River the City City News and all the things that you did to promote education and educating people about what was going on in our community and in our world. But Walt, Darring was the same way. Let me just share a little bit of my story if I can. I grew up mostly in the Roger Williams projects that have been torn down, I guess, in recent years. And I went to school in Mobile Public Schools. And during those times, in the 60s and early 70s, if you were black, for the most part, you had a completely segregated educational experience. And all the schools that I attended could no way, in any way, compare with even the most average white public school in Mobile. Well, when you hear your teachers telling you over and over again that you're probably not good enough to succeed in life, it starts to gnaw at you. And you start to internalize it. And you start thinking and wondering, am I good enough? Well, what that leads to is a sort of psychological imprisonment that you experience, at least what I experienced. And so the idea of going to the University of South Alabama was something that was way beyond anything that I felt that I was prepared for. And so the question that I had was really about that. So I had also this dream of what it would be a lawyer. And it was almost like a moonshot for me, but somehow or other, that's what I wanted to do. But it was difficult for me at that time to develop the confidence that one needed to succeed, either in the classroom and certainly to become a lawyer. So during those 12 years that I experienced in the county public schools, I really did not know if I had the classroom skills that one needed to succeed in professions and in my share. And so the first question really that I faced at South was exactly that. It just hit me in the face. And it was, am I good enough? Well, I wrote a letter to this professor some years ago. It was my English 101 professor. And I wanted to let him know that the question that I had of whether or not I was good enough, that question had been answered. So I explained in the letter to him that I attended segregated schools all those years and that segregation had isolated me and had fueled these self-doubts that I had. And I really did not know if I could be at the same level in the classroom as white students could be. And the initial experiences that I had at South really drove home for me the gap that existed between black and white educational experiences. I think we all have had experiences, I know I did, having that shock of the first failing grade when you just wonder, what happened? Where am I? Do I need to leave? So I told him about that initial experience, and I wrote, "Dear Professor Darring, your class is memorable because of the first composition assignment. I don't remember the specifics of the assignment, but I do remember your face and demeanor when you returned the graded papers. And if you remember him, he would straight out of the air. I'll never forget you expressed disappointment that as a group, our writing skills were so deficient. You began calling our names to retrieve the papers from the front of the classroom. And I recall several classmates returning to their desks with long faces. So I prepared for the worst. When I walked to the front and my name was called, I mustered the courage to look at my grade and was shocked when I saw the verdict. A-. But more important than the grade were the words you sketched in the upper right-hand margin of my paper. You wrote, "Educate thyself, brother, and you will go far." Me? These words were meant for me? Was there a mistake? Professor, I can't tell you the impact of this message. It boosted my confidence and affirmed my self-worth. I know it sounds corny, but I was inspired. Somehow that word inspired is connected to Walt, right? But I was inspired to do well in South and in life. And indeed, life has been good. I did reasonably well in South, and I went to law school and practiced law in Mobile, in Washington, D.C., and now in Birmingham. Professor Darring, I am not sure if you ever knew my name, but I have drawn on those words you gave me many times, and it's time now to thank you for them. Thanks. Well, Professor Darring wrote me back, and he said, "Dear Mr. Simon, you're right about one thing. I don't remember your face or your name." He was a comedian. But I do recall the now scrolling your paper. An unusual message. It sprang from a gut feeling that here was intelligence and understanding, and the right words might convey to you the need to develop your potential. So I tossed the words out to the unknown, and you and they have gone far. And now, 20 years later, they return to me in the form of thanks. I feel like I'm looking at Walt right now. Well, it is just in time. I have been teaching English for some 27 years now, and have recently begun to wonder whether it's worth the effort. Trying to teach people to read and write in the age of television. And that's 27 years ago. And your letter seems to say to me, you never know, brother, what your words can do for others. You have restored my faith in teaching.
Wow. Wow. Oh, wow.
And he continued, he said, and so the prophecy has been fulfilled. The circle is complete, and now it is my turn to thank you. Thanks. So Walt Darring's words of encouragement helped release the potential that he sensed. And the words that he wrote in my paper, "Educate thyself, brother, and you will go far," it really did help fulfill that desire I had in life. And somehow or other, they let me have a law license. That's another story. But you see, Professor Darring continued to teach students for another 20 years, even after that. And then even after 47 years, he could still ask. He could still ask this question, whether it was worth the effort to try to teach people to read and write in the era of Twitter and text messages, right? And the answer, though, would be the same. So he would teach us then, what was that trifecta? Art and poetry and all those things. But he would also teach us about life. And you know it would really be worth the effort because he wouldn't stop there, because he would teach us, and we would be able to learn from the relationship that he had with Jean. The life that they shared in their family is so special and an inspiration to us all. But in the end, Walt Darring would remind us that we should all, brothers and sisters, educate ourselves, for we can go far. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ken. We're going to keep things moving. Our next speaker is my cousin, Jeffrey J.